Good morning, fam. It's me again with another life lesson with Yahuah. And the story that I'm going to tell you today is one where I first learned about faith. I was 14 years old, and I remembered my mother and I walking together. And she made me a promise that day. He said that if I was good, and if I went to school, did my homework, that this summer I would be able to go to our church convention to see my friends. And oh, the joy that filled my soul, just to know that I would be able to see them once again. I heard a scripture one day, and it went something like this. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. At that time, I had no idea what that meant. But in a few short months, I would be able to definitively prove to you that Yahuah is real. That day in August finally came, that Friday morning, as I was waiting and anticipating the departure to go to Orlando. As I looked at my mother, I knew that something was wrong because she would not look me in my eyes. But I continued getting ready anyway. She came to my room that morning and she said to me, "Son, I have something that I need to tell you, and you're not going to be happy about what I'm going to say." As I looked her in her eye, he said to me, "The money that you had to go to the convention, I gave it to an elder in the church so that his family would be able to attend." And I said to her, "Mom, what do you mean? I've been waiting for this all year long. I did everything that you told me to do. I honored my part of this deal. And now you're telling me that I can't go because someone else needed what was set aside for me more than I did." From that moment on, I did not hear a single word that she said. I just stared at her. The next words that came out of my mouth was, "I'm going." And I ran to my room and I began to pack my suitcase. But before I did that, there was one thing that I did, and that was fall on my knees and pray to Yahuah. He was the source of my strength. So I said to him, "If you are real, I want you to make a way for me out of nowhere. Because my mother told me that everyone that was going to the convention had already left. And I didn't want to believe that. So I was asking him to save me." When I got up off my knees, I finished packing my clothes and I got dressed. And then I took my suitcase And I sat them in the living room right next to the couch. She stared at me with tears in her eyes. Because in her mind, she knew that no one was coming. But yet, I still believed. And it wasn't 5 minutes later that our telephone rang in the kitchen. And my mother answered that phone. And then she stared at me with this look of disbelief in her eyes. And she said, "Telephone for you." So I stood up and I went to the telephone and I said, "Yes." And it was Elder Harris from Miami. He said, "You just came on my mind. And I was running late, my family and I. And I just wanted to know if you had arrived." And I told him, "No, sir, I don't have a ride." He said, "Don't worry about money. You can stay in the room with my 2 boys, and you don't have to pay for anything. I'm going to take care of it for you." And this big smile came on my face, and I looked up toward heaven, and I thanked God for what he had done for me. So Ella Harris said to me, "Be ready. I'll be there in about 45 to 50 minutes to pick you up and take you with us to this convention." Now, the moral of this story is, when you pray, you better believe. When you ask, you better expect. When you plead with Yahuah, he will hear you. And it wasn't because I was trying to do something noble or trying to do anything other than see my friends. And I thank him for honoring my request, because he didn't have to do it. But that day is what made me understand as a young man that there's nothing that Yahuah can't do if you ask him.